Sup, everyone, and welcome to another episode from the Side Hustler Society. I'm your host, Elijah. I'm really excited about this episode because we are going to be covering the topic of public speaking and the value it has to you, regardless of what you're going to be doing in business, whether it's going to be side hustle, part time, or if you're going to be a full time hustler. Whatever you're doing, you can benefit from having the skill set of public speaking because it helps you with your communication in general, and obviously, it can be a very lucrative way of making money if you have the right avenue set up to monetize it. I'm going to be interviewing Brenden from MasterTalk, who has a lot of game to offer when it comes to this area of expertise. He also has a YouTube channel called MasterTalk, where he talks deeply about public speaking, the do's, the don'ts, and how to monetize it if you so desire. So, as you can tell, this is something that can apply in multiple areas of the hustle. So, I'm not going to say any more here. I just want to go ahead and get into it. So let's go ahead and hit that intro.
Welcome to the Side Hustler Society podcast with your host, Elijah Bilel. This is where you can find out more about hustles that are best for you. And of course, make more money in the process. Elijah has been in the gig economy and freelance space for over 5 years and has done over 3,000 deliveries on Uber Eats. He's an Airbnb superhost, runs multiple YouTube channels, and is the author of the best-selling book, The Anatomy of Financial Success. It's his mission to empower people with the tools needed to be successful. Now, welcome your host, the king of side hustles, Elijah Bilel.
So, Brenden is the founder of MasterTalk. He coaches ambitious executives and entrepreneurs to become the top 1% of communicators in their industry. He also has a popular YouTube channel called MasterTalk with the goal of providing free access to communication tools for everyone in the world. All right, Brenden, you're on. How are you doing today?
Good, man. How about you, Elijah? Thanks for having me.
I'm doing great, and I'm personally excited for this particular episode because I don't want people to get me wrong. Technology definitely has its uses, has its advantages, but I think it's caused people to undervalue the tactic and the skill set of public speaking. A lot of people kind of have like this mentality that, oh, well, if I can live stream on YouTube and Facebook or whatever, what reason do I have to do public speaking? And these are great tools. I'm not saying don't use them, but that's why I'm glad to bring you on because Master Talk is basically a place where people can learn the art of public speaking and how they can use it to their advantages. Because at the end of the day, it's still going to be the number one source of lead generation. If you ask me, nothing else is going to beat that because it checks all the boxes that people want to see. And it also proves that you're sincere. If you're willing to get up, give a presentation in front of X amount of people, not everyone is just going to do that.
Well said, Elijah. I completely agree, right? Communication is a vehicle. I call it the accelerant of dreams. Like whatever you want in your life, communication allows you to achieve it a lot faster, and that's really the key.
Indeed, indeed. So a lot of people may be wondering, or for those of y'all that aren't familiar with your own work, how about you tell us how did you personally get involved in public speaking?
Yeah, for sure, Elijah. Great way to get the conversation started. So for me, it all started in college. I went to business school, and I had zero aspirations whatsoever to be an entrepreneur. That was never my goal. I'm not like the side hustle king like you are. You're definitely the king. There's no doubt, no doubt there. So I didn't want to do any of that. I just wanted to be a successful executive and make good money as an IBM executive or something. So I went to business school and I did these things called case competitions. Think of it like professional sports, but for nerds. So while the guys my age were playing basketball or rugby or baseball, I wasn't one of those guys. I did presentations competitively, Elijah, and that's how I learned how to speak. But then
Ooh,
as I got older, I started coaching a lot of the students on how to communicate ideas. And that's what led to Master Talk because I felt that all of the information I was sharing with them, frankly, wasn't available for free on the internet. So I just started making YouTube videos on communication and turned to a pretty successful coaching business and a movement later on.
cool. So that competition that you mentioned, what was it called again?
Case competitions.
Case competitions. Is that like Toastmasters but on steroids?
Sort of. So case competition is a really small community. Not a lot of people know what that is. That's why I use analogies like professional sports for nerds,
Mm-hmm.
because it's only people who go to business school who know what these things are. Basically, the reason they
Oh.
exist, Elijah, is because it's a recruitment tool for companies. So let's say I'm at IBM. I have two options to recruit students out of university. Either I just throw a posting on a job posting, or I go, let me spend a few thousands of dollars and host one of these competitions where I just give them a problem I have in the business, and whoever solves the case just gets an interview. And that's exactly how people hire people. And it was my ticket out of poverty, frankly. I didn't want to be an entrepreneur. I wanted to be an executive at the beginning, and people told me that's the best way to get a job there. So I actually competed in these competitions to get a job. That's how it initially started.
So it's kind of like a secret society. It has a element of finesse to it.
Think of it like this, Elijah. I kind of learned 40 years of communication in four because I started coaching CEOs when I was 19. But the reason I was able to learn communication so quickly, like why would they trust me, is because a lot of my coaches, when I did this program, were CEOs of companies. They were senior level executives who were much older than me, and they
Mm-hmm.
were in the program 10 years ago. So
Oh,
then they coach the next generation. They go, "This is how you lead. This is how you speak in front of the." So it's kind of like a pitch. Like all of the students, and there's judges who are executives of these companies. You're presenting your ideas, and whoever has the best pitch wins the competition. That's how it works.
wow. Well, that's pretty impressive. Hmm. Okay. So, well, we got to give you an extra. I need to get a soundboard so I can I'll get a round of applause sound for you bringing this information to the public, because there's information that is behind closed doors oftentimes, and when that information can get the public can access that information. However, whoever makes it available, I think they deserve a round of applause. To be honest.
Oh, thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was fun for me.
we'll definitely leave a link to your YouTube channel in the show notes. I've checked it out. He's got some pretty awesome content when it comes to public speaking. But a lot of people, myself included, are wondering, since you said that you said you didn't exactly send out to be an entrepreneur. So how did you end up becoming one? And did it just happen, or did you at some point make a conscious decision that, hey, this is the path that I want to go down? I want to be an entrepreneur.
For sure, Elijah. Great question. So I believe there's two types of entrepreneurs in the world. The first one is the born entrepreneur. The second one is the made entrepreneur. So the born entrepreneur is someone like Gary Vaynerchuk or Mark Cuban, where it's in their blood. Like they sell flowers out of people's yards and they knock on their door and sell it back to them. They host lemonade stand. They run illegal candy businesses in high school. Like that's their. I wasn't like that at all. I was a straight A student, pretty good academically. I wanted to be an accountant. Like that was my goal.
Mm-hmm.
But the circumstances of my life turned me into entrepreneurship. So for example,
Mm-hmm.
when I started making, like I had a very successful job prior to starting a business. Like I was a technology consultant at IBM, which is the job I wanted from those case competitions. So I won. I got the gig
Mm-hmm.
from those from winning those competitions. So I got the prize I wanted, but I wasn't happy. I was making good money. It was a great company, great people, and they're a client now, so it worked out.
Mm-hmm.
But I wasn't fulfilled, Elijah. Like I realized that the excitement I had from case competitions ended because now I have to just work full time. And I
Mm-hmm.
lost that jus de vie, as we say in French, that joy of living. So I
Oh.
asked myself, is there something I can do? And I was just once again these YouTube channels. Like I wasn't smart like you. I wasn't making these videos and go, oh, I'm gonna exit my corporate job 2.5 years with my side hustles. That wasn't the case at all. I was just making YouTube videos because I wanted to help people. But then
Mm-hmm.
9 months into Master Talk, I got really fortunate. I met my business partner Vamsi, who's 20 years older than me and understands the coaching business really well. And he's the one who taught me how to monetize my passion.
Oh, that's a powerful origin story. Huh. And it makes for a good contrast because a lot of people think that entrepreneurship is born out of being hungry. Like, oh man, I've never had nothing, and then I, carve my way out of nothing, and then bam, here I am. That's not necessarily always the case. Some people become entrepreneurs for other reasons, maybe more emotional reasons. And then your journey is a good concept of that. It's funny you mentioned like there's two type of entrepreneurs. Those that are born and those that become entrepreneurs. And you gave Mark Cuban as an example. Earlier today, I was watching the episode of Shark Tank, and the guy who was in the presentation, Cuban, he was, criticizing him. He said, "Hey, Cubes, let me jump in there." He said, "Cubes," and just for calling me Cubes, I'm out. And like that just kind of spoke when you said like, yeah, there are people like him who are kind of made, they're born into just kind of born entrepreneurs. A lot of people think that most people are born entrepreneurs. They're not. That's like 10, maybe 20% of entrepreneurs max. The other 80% are people who become entrepreneurs.
Yeah, you could say that. I'm not sure what the mix is, but what I will say is I don't advise most people to become entrepreneurs. I don't think it makes sense for most people. For me, the advice is, and I think you'll appreciate us being the king of side hustles yourself. I call it side hustle comfortably, which is very different advice than what most people give out. For me, I'm a big fan of guaranteed outcomes. Look, I mean, my parents were factory workers. I didn't have much. I didn't see entrepreneurship as my way out, and I don't think it is for most people. I think education and getting a high paying job is actually the way out for most people statistically. And I don't mean
Mhm.
necessarily like a college degree. I mean like if you're good with your hands, you're better off being a plumber because those jobs pay a lot of money. We're talking like 100 to 120 starting salary like cuz nobody wants to do those jobs. And that's really the key. So for me, when I looked at my life, Elijah, my guaranteed outcome was to be an accountant. I knew I was really good at mathematics and I was bad at everything else. But what money does for you is that it gives you the freedom to think. So after I was making, good money at IBM, not like minimum wage, I was able to pay off my family debt. Like we didn't have any problems anymore. But that
Mhm.
gave me space to think, and it was in that process that I didn't have to worry about the bills anymore. That's when I started side hustling MasterTalk for like 2.5 years before I went full time on it.
Got you, got you. One thing that I really preach on this podcast is like a lot of side hustle podcasts, they are kind of focused on the gimmicks, like how to make the most money with the least amount of effort, or like I made like $5,000 on in a month driving Uber or something like that. And that's fine. That's fine. I'm not knocking that. But I really want to push people towards developing like a trade or skill because, like you said, you're an accountant. Me, well, I've had a bunch of side hustles, but I'll just use like video editing, for instance. Like that's the skill set. Our skill sets are malleable. We can go and get a high paying job with that skill set, or we can go into business for ourselves and be a freelancer, or we could start a bigger business and hire other accountants or other video editors, have them on retainer for us. So those skills are so malleable.
Completely agree. I think the key is that, as Gay Hendricks calls it, there's this idea of the zone of genius where we align what we care about, what are we excited about, versus what the world needs and what we're really, really good at. But the challenge with that framework, Elijah, is it's really difficult for people to figure out, okay, what do I really, really love to do that I can get paid money for? And the world really needs me to do it, and I'm really good at it, frankly, because even if it pays a lot of money, like the ROI of a basketball for me is $0, and for LeBron it's like hundreds of billions, right? so
Right.
so it's about aligning the three, which is very difficult. That's why I encourage people to start with their zone of excellence. Don't worry if you're excited about it. I think honestly, if it pays the bills and the world needs it and you're really good at it, that's more than enough. I would start there, start making money, and then as you start making money, then you got time. And now it's all about not spending that money on stupid things so you can gain more leverage, and then you could buy your time back. That's what people should be doing with their money, to then think about what that side hustle ultimately will be for them.
Nicely put. I'll say this and then we'll move on to public speaking because I know my audience is gonna be like, hey, let's get into the public speaking aspects. But from the time that we're put into elementary school, we're kind of on this hamster wheel of you go here, you do this. Someone's like determining what your next step is. You never really get a chance to just sit down, let the adrenaline just kind of leave your body, and just like think, what do I overall want? And if you do get a high paying trade or skill, that'll give you the ability to do that. So that's why I think that's a great first step.
Absolutely.
Okay. So going into the public speaking aspect, I would ask you, like, how do you feel that public speaking can help modern business owners, or whether it be business owners or people who have trades and skills, like plumbers, electricians, lawyers, whatever, or people who are looking to build a big business? How do you feel public speaking can help these people?
For sure, Elijah. So for me, communication impacts every area of our life. So it's not just about making more money in the business, getting more sales, increasing our salary. It's the way we talk to our families. It's the way that we make new friends. It's the way that we lead a more fulfilling life. That's why I always ask these three questions. What do you want in life? What are your goals? Who already has what you want in life? Who are the people who have already been there, done that, and achieved what you want to achieve in your life? And the third question that most people don't think about is, how is that person communicating? The person who has what we want, how do they come out as a communicator? How do they come across? And that's why Warren Buffett always says that the number one investment he ever made in himself was a Dale Carnegie course, like spending on communication, because it allows him to amplify anything that he wants to work on. So that's why I encourage your audience to think about it. Because if you got a side hustle or something, you could use communication as a vehicle to persuade people into buying your products and services.
Indeed. And if we're gonna be honest, sales equals income. If you're not generating sales, you're not gonna be in business for very long. But even just not just sales, but let's say you do build a fairly big company. Uh, Knowing how to communicate with your contractors, with your employees, with your peers, and forging relationships is a valuable skill set in itself. And you're going to have to learn these skills if you're going to be successful. Because I don't know who exactly said it, but basically the quality of your relationships in life determine how successful you're going to be. If you have good quality relationships, then you're going to tend to go very far in life. But if you have limited and strained relationships, you're going to have limited options. So just boosting your communication skills in general is going to be a huge asset. And obviously, if you develop the ability of public speaking, it puts that asset on steroids.
Absolutely. I completely agree. It's this idea that as your business scales, are your communication skills scaling with the business? That's the question I always ask my entrepreneurs. So if you're a business doing less than 100,000 per year, you're usually doing everything. Sales, delivery, ascension, you're talking to customers, you're doing everything. But when you get to 500,000, 250, 750, you're getting to a place in your business where you're hiring people and you're telling them what to do. But if your communication skills aren't efficient at that level, you're going to create a lot of problems. Your employee's going to come back to you and go, "Huh? What did you mean? What do you want me to do?" And they won't know what a good job looks like, and that will mean to you a lot of lost revenue.
Indeed, indeed. So, Brenden, some people say that I can't believe I'm saying this, but some people think public speaking is outdated. They say that it's not really needed to be successful in entrepreneurship nowadays because you can just live stream on social media. Like, what's your view on that? Do you agree with that or disagree? Now, I adamantly disagree, but I would love to hear your take on that.
Sure, Elijah. Here's the way I think about it. Entrepreneurship is a game of odds. So there's no guaranteed outcome in entrepreneurship. You're never guaranteed the win. What you want to do always is you always want to try and maximize your odds to success. So yes, if you make an extra 20 grand, you spend it on a fancy watch, does that necessarily mean you lose in entrepreneurship? No. But it decreases your odds. Same thing. If you live at your mom's house and you have an extra 10K sitting around, if you move out, will it reduce your odds of success to zero? Not necessarily. But are you better off staying at your mom's house if you don't need to live somewhere else to have that extra 10K to leverage? Yeah, it'll increase your odds of success. Communication is the same thing. One thing I will say is, if you're a bad communicator and you're competing against someone who has an equal product, like a product that's just as good as you, and equal marketing, they'll kick your ass. No doubt. Because they're going to be able to sell that prospect more effectively on a call than you would if you're a terrible communicator.
Ooh, so you tied that back to an outcome and a result. I love that because regardless of how people feel about what was just said, chances are your competitors are in the realm of public speaking, or at the very least, they're willing to learn. And if you're shying away from it, some of those perks of knowing the skill set shine outside of just speaking on the stage.
Even just as an example, Elijah, because it's a mindset, right? It's not about saying you need to spend all your money on coaches and programs and masterminds, all that stuff. But it's just
Mhm.
about what gives you an edge. Even I listen to other communication coaches like me, but I'm the coach. I'm the one helping people with this. Yet I'm still learning from the other coaches to make sure I'm better. That's the mindset that I have. Even if I have to pay for their coaching, even if I have to, I don't know, watch their free videos, even have to be paying stuff, going to their live events, just taking notes and being that student, that's the mindset that will always keep you ahead of the game in your sport.
Hmm. You know, I think it was in Robert Kiyosaki's. Let's see, it is here somewhere. I can't find it right now. I think it's in my car actually. But
Rich
Robert
Dad Poor Dad.
Kiyosaki's Increase Your Financial IQ. He basically admitted that he's a good subscriber to his competitors, mainly so he can learn from them. So what you said is very akin to that.
Absolutely.
Okay. So for those that are interested in becoming like a public speaker, for whatever reasons there are various reasons why you might want to become one. They make the conscious decision that, hey, I want to enter public speaking. How did they get started? Where did they go? What should they do?
For sure, Elijah. So here's what I would say. Communication is like juggling 18 balls at the same time. One of those balls is eye contact, one of those balls facial expressions, body language, storytelling, pacing, and the list goes on. So it can get really confusing for people. So
Hmm.
for me, the question has always been, what are the 3 easiest balls that one can juggle in the air to get started with their communication tomorrow? So for me, ball number 1 is the random word exercise. Pick a word like stylo, like style, like fashion, like light bulb, and create random presentations out of thin air. And this helps with 2 things. One, it helps you think quickly on your feet. And the second piece is if you can make sense out of nonsense, you could make sense out of anything, Elijah. So that's exercise number 1 that I recommend.
Cool. So it's kind of like a self-prescribed improv class, sort of.
You got it. And then it
Okay.
helps you with small talk as well.
Right, right. I like that. I like that. Okay. So from because I do know there are some people that they're actually a public speaker for a living. If a person really let's say they're committed to actually doing this as a living, if they're new, how does a new speaker go about getting booked? Do you have any advice for that? Because obviously, as your rep grows, it becomes easier and easier. People may even start coming to you, but when you first start out, who are you? Why should I let you speak to my audience? Like, how do they overcome that?
For sure, Elijah. So before I jump in that, which is more of an advanced question, let's talk about the 2 other exercises, which are
Sure.
question drills and video messages. So ball number 2 is the question drill. We get asked questions all the time in our life. On a podcast, on a sales call, when we're running our business, our careers, but most of us are reactive to those questions. We're not proactive. A few years ago when I started guesting on podcasts, I sucked. I remember some guy asked me the funniest question. He said, "Where does the fear of communication come from?" And I looked at him and I said, I don't know, man. Los Angeles? San Diego? You tell me." So I had no idea how to answer the question. So what did I do? Every single day for 5 minutes, I answered one question that I thought the world would ask me about my expertise until I had an answer for everything. So I did that every
Hmm.
single day for a year. That's it. Number 2. And number 3 is the video message. Just make a list of all your clients, all the people that you serve, the people that you love in your life, and send them all a 20-second video message just saying how grateful you are of having them in your life, how grateful you are of having their business. And that's what creates relationships that ultimately leads to more word of mouth, and you also make people's days better.
Hmm. Those are 3 actionable tactics to build yourself up in this area, and also move you closer to a variety of outcomes. I like that. It's very practical advice too, and it's advice you can implement like right away. It's not like you have to wait to go buy something. You can like theoretically, as soon as a person finishes listening to this podcast, they could go and start doing those things and start getting results. I love that.
Absolutely, Elijah. Which then plays now into your question around speaking engagements. Here's my advice always. If you're not willing to do those 3 things every day, don't even bother trying to be a paid speaker. It's super competitive, it's cutthroat. Okay, so if you're not spending 15 minutes every day to just do the random word exercise, do the question drills, why should you be paid to speak? Right? Like it's like a business, like anything else. And Rory Vaden says it so well. The problem that you're solving for your audience needs to be greater than the fee that somebody is giving you. So you better be so good that the market can't ignore you. So how does that now tie into how to do this? The answer is really simple, and people won't like it. The answer is create your own stage. Don't wait for people. Don't wait for permission to get on people's stages. Ask for it. I mean, I asked to be on your show, right? If I just waited to be on people's podcasts, I'd maybe go on 2 podcasts a week when people, even now with my YouTube channel success, but because we're messaging so many people, I'm going on like 20 shows a week, right? That's the mentality that you want to have. Don't wait for people to give you permission. Ask for it. Or don't ask for it, rather. But the other piece is for the speaking engagement specifically, Elijah. Here's the recommendation. Open a Zoom call and give a presentation on your topic, on what you want people to pay you for, and do it for free. And do that every 2 weeks. And I did that 100 times before I ever got paid to speak.
You're getting a lot of practical tips. I like it.
That's the key, man. You gotta add value.
You gotta add value. I love that. Gotta add value. And obviously, you can't be afraid of. Well, this goes to entrepreneurship too, but you can't be afraid of the word no. You'll get some no's, but it's just part of the process to get to your next yes.
Absolutely.
Okay. So some people may be wondering, there's a lot of things you should do in the public speaking arena, but what are some don'ts that you should not do?
I would say the biggest don't is lack of consistency. That's the biggest don't by far. The problem, Elijah, is not that this is rocket science, because it isn't. It's that people aren't booking 15 minutes in their calendar every day to do the random word exercise, to do the question drills, and to send those video messages. And there's one rule with sending video messages that I want people to know. You're not allowed to retake the video. That's it. You just get paid on output, on nothing else. And that's really where I see is the biggest mistake. People aren't willing to do it consistently. It's kind of like going to a gym, right? Sure, you can ask people what the calorie intake is, what the diet plan is, nitpick as to which personal trainer you want to work with, where you want to work on calves with the arms, or you can just walk 15 minutes a day every day. Are we doing that? Are we doing intermittent fasting? Are we eating the right things? That's where we start the conversation with, and then we move forward from there. The other mistake I will put out there that a lot of people are making is they don't have a clear reason why communication matters to them. That's why I always ask this question. How would your life change if you were an exceptional communicator? And the reason I ask this question is because it helps you think about, like if I was very good at communication, how would it change my podcast? How would it change my platform? How would it change my business, my career? And when you start to dream about it, it makes you way more excited and motivated to even do those 3 exercises.
And even just branching out of that, like, well, how would it impact my friendships? How would it impact my ability to make new friends? How would it impact my relationship? How would it impact my ability to get a relationship? Like,
Hundo, absolutely.
Okay, that makes sense. So, and swinging back to those who do public speaking, like for a living, because some people on this podcast, we talk about the Side Hustler Society. Some people want to remove the word side and just become a hustler and do something full time. So let's say in a world where they do want to become a public speaker, whatever they're talking about, they're extremely passionate about it. They want to impact lives. They want to make a living off of this. In your opinion, can someone make a living off of being a public speaker?
Absolutely, Elijah. So here's the 3 principles that I abide by before I actually quit my job, because MasterTalk was a side hustle for 2.5 years until June of 2021. And I've been doing it full time since then. And I've replaced my income and more than since then. But here's my advice. Number 1, make money before quitting. And I'm sure you're someone who advocates for this so much. So many people jump ship without having a proven product. Like, I think that's insane. Yeah. I had replaced 30-40% of my income before I even quit my job. So I knew what I was doing was working. I just wasn't putting enough oil to the gasoline. Enough oil to the fire, because I was working 70, 80 hours a week at IBM because it was a demanding job. That's why they paid me a lot of money to do it. Right. So I was just working on the weekends to make MasterTalk work. And I did that for so many years. That's 1. Second is not having a clear plan, a 90-day strategy as to how you're going to replace all of your income. So I knew what to do on day 1. The second my last day at IBM was done, I knew what to do the next day. Start posting daily on LinkedIn, start DMing these people. And I struggled for a bit, but I eventually replaced my income in like 6 months or less. So I was able to make it work, which brings me to number 3. Have a 6-month emergency fund minimum, if not 9. I still live in my mom's basement. Even if my business is wildly successful now, I still live it because I'm obsessed with leverage. I want every little dollar, just in case something happens in the recession, just in case. I'm always prepared for the worst and I always hope for the best. And that's the mentality that made my transition from side hustle to full-time hustle very smooth. So going back to being a speaker, I have found from personal experience that the best way to make a living as as a speaker is actually not through the fee. Sure, do companies pay me to speak? Have I done that a couple of times? Yeah, sure. Charge 2,000 there, 3,000 there. Things are good. But that income is very inconsistent, my friend. For me, the most consistent part of that business is the coaching side. Coaching is a lot more easier to sell because you're selling the individual. So what I do with my speaking engagements, a lot of them I still deliver for free. Because if I speak to 50 executives and 3 of them become clients, I'll make 10 grand in a day. So it's a lot better for me to do it that way. So I'd encourage people to think about the product and service behind in the back end of that presentation versus just trying to make money off the presentation itself.
Yeah, that's pretty common across the board. I mean, some speaking engagements will pay you some type of fee, but oftentimes people who do public speaking for a living, they do their presentation, they're speaking for free, but then they have a service or product that they're offering, which they make money off of. They may have funnels towards affiliate marketing that they make up money off of. They may be able to leverage that content. They get permission from the venue to leverage that content. They put it on their YouTube channel. They make ad revenue off of it like that. I mean, there's several ways that they have to monetize that content that isn't directly getting paid to speak. But speaking is the central form of those ways of monetizing.
Absolutely. Very well said. That's exactly what I do. Like, sure, there's some speaking engagements pay me, but that's probably 20% of my gigs. The other 80% is speak to this group. We don't have any budget, but they're all high paying clients.
Mhm.
Potential. I'll speak in that group every single day of the week. Why not?
Right, right. Some people might be wondering, it's one thing if they don't pay you for to speak, but do you oftentimes get like your travel expenses reimbursed, or sometimes not?
So a lot of the times my speaking engagements, Elijah, it's a great question, are actually virtual. So it actually doesn't matter where I just deliver it virtually. A lot of my in-person stuff I charge for, or else it's a waste of my time. Like I'll never fly out to Florida, let's say, and give a presentation where I'm not getting paid to do it, even if there's ideal clients, unless it's really worth it. And I still haven't done it yet in my career. Usually if I'm flying out, people are paying me to do that. So I would encourage people to do it online. I think that's the gift of the internet.
Mhm.
You can get really well known pretty quickly if you just you're generous enough. That's actually how I close my corporate clients. This is literally what I do. I do a free workshop every 2 weeks, and I still do that free workshop every 2 weeks today. Like I still do it. And then what happens is when a corporate client reaches out and goes, "Hey, we're interested in working with you, but we don't know the quality of your work." I'm just like, "You don't have to guess. Come to my next free training." They go, "Oh, you have a free training?" I'm like the only speaker they're considering who has one. They come to the free training, their mind's blown. They're like, "Yeah, how much do you charge?" Done, closed, done, deal's clear. That's it.
I love it. I love it. Okay. Well, I would say, as far as questions, yeah, this is actually a tribute to your great communication skills because you've actually addressed all the ones I was going to ask in a pretty efficient manner. But I do always ask my guests if they have any questions they want to hit me with, whether on this topic or just about the Side Hustler Society or anything I've got going on. So if you got any questions you want to hit me with?
For sure, absolutely. What's your vision? So I know you've tried a lot of different side hustles. So one question for you. So there's two parts. One is
Okay.
what's the vision for Side Hustle Society? And the other question is your side hustle a side hustle? So is this now your full-time gig or is this a side hustle of the side hustle?
Okay. Well, I guess I'll start with the vision. Ultimately, I was just going to keep the Side Hustler Society as a podcast because I wanted to get the information out there about just different ways of making money. Because a lot of people's default, I'll just say their default is to go get another job if they need more money. That keeps you like in this quagmire, just like overly working, and you end up becoming pretty underdeveloped in other key areas of life, like health and wellness, maintaining your friendships, relationships. So it's like let's try and avoid that second job if we can, why not pick up a side hustle? Oftentimes, you can make like double the money you make at a side part-time job doing a side hustle in half the time. So why not just focus on that? So if you do put the same hours in, at least you'll make more money. But ideally, if you need like an extra $500 per month, let's make that quickly so that you can get on to enjoying your life. So that's the vision that the Side Hustle Society originally had. But I started realizing based on the podcast and the feedback, it actually needs to be bigger. It needs to be a podcast. It needs to be a YouTube channel. It needs to be a blog too. I'm getting ready to start a blog around this because the information needs to get out, and there's not enough resources for entrepreneurship and freelancing. We talked about entrepreneurship a lot, but entrepreneurship isn't for everyone. But I will say something that is for everyone. I think everyone should be a freelancer, or they should have the option to be a freelancer. Pick up that trade and skill. Pick up that trade or skill rather, and then you have some that it's just so malleable. Go get a job with it, start freelancing, or build a business around it. So the vision for the Side Hustle Society now is pretty akin to this podcast, blog, and YouTube channel called The Rideshare Guy. He's actually one of my former clients. But he has this whole basically media conglomerate around like the gig economy, like Uber, Lyft, Rideshare, that kind of thing. I want and all the resources you'll ever need. I want to do that, but for side hustles in general. If a person needs a tax professional that specializes in self-employment, well, I want to be able to provide that. That's a good example. As far as me, I've been self-employed for almost 6 years. So I've been off a job for a while. And when I originally left, I was involved in network marketing. And I had a pretty decent sized downline. So I had these sales skills. But it wasn't moving fast enough, in my opinion. Plus, like when I studied the outline of network marketing, I look at how much money is being made and what's my share. I wasn't satisfied with what I found. I'll just say that. And it was in a company, Total Life Changes, where they actually had a generous compensation plan. So I was just thinking, like, I need more money. This just isn't going to work. Right. So that's why I started driving for like Uber and Lyft. Got into food delivery later. Started a YouTube channel around it once I saw that you can make some referral income off of it. And there's an underserviced market. Uber Eats drivers, there's no content on the internet, on YouTube about Uber Eats. So I learned how to master Uber Eats, the algorithm, how to get certain trips, how to encourage tips, made videos on that. Got this channel is called The App Lifestyle, got that monetized, and boom. But my original plan was to take that and go into personal finance content. The audience didn't really take it that well because they signed up for the gig economy. So I just put it on a separate channel called Financial Anatomy. That's where I talk about investing, and for a little while I talked about side hustles too. And I had bumped into this book called Published that talked about how to launch a career if you write a best-selling book. So I did that. It's called The Anatomy of Financial Success right here. And it became an Amazon bestseller. And I was eventually going to go into real estate. Then the pandemic happened. So towards the end of the pandemic, I was staying in the Airbnb, and they said like, hey, we're currently like leasing, like the apartment said they're leasing. I was like, well, I want to get into real estate anyway. What would it actually take to do this Airbnb stuff? So I looked into that, found out how to do it, negotiated a deal with that apartment complex. I have 2 units on the Airbnb. And fast forward to today, that's kind of been like the origin of where I am right now. So I don't have a particular one thing I do full time. It's just all these things are producing income. Yeah, that's why I say I'm the king of side hustles.
And how old are you now?
I'm 30.
30. Okay, so you've been self-employed since 24. That's awesome, man. It's inspiring.
Yeah, I mean, and I used to work for Amazon. I was a process assistant. That's the tier right below an area manager. And I just got this vibe I wasn't living up to my like full potential. Keep in mind, this is when I was doing network marketing on the side. I used to joke with my area manager saying like, hey, did you even go home last night? Like, why don't you just pull up a mattress and sleep like in that corner? Because I had to be there 30 minutes before shift. and 30 minutes after shift. And he was there before me. So I genuinely wondered if he even went home. That would be the next step for me if I kept going. I was like, yeah, I don't think I want that. I think I'm cool. So eventually I put my 2 weeks notice in, and that's what started the story that I mentioned before.
Wow. Amazing story, Elijah. I learned a lot from you, man. It's very inspiring. I love it.
Appreciate it. But yeah, it's all about getting these resources out there so people, they can be equipped to make the right decisions, because there just aren't enough resources for freelancers and entrepreneurship. Our educational system is very employee based. That's fine, but I think there should be some alternatives in terms of resources and information.
I agree. Absolutely, man. Love the work that you're doing. It's awesome.
Right back at you. So I will say this: a lot of people might be wondering where can they get more from you, Brenden, or where can they get more of you? Why don't you drop your YouTube channel, your social media links? Like, where can they find you at?
Yeah, for sure, Elijah. Thanks for having me. So 2 ways to keep in touch. The first one is the YouTube channel. Just type MasterTalk in one word, and you'll have access to hundreds of free videos on how to communicate ideas effectively. And the second way to keep in touch is my website, rockstarcommunicator.com, where I do a free communication workshop over Zoom that's live and interactive every 2 weeks. So you can register for the next one there.
Awesome. We'll be sure to leave links to both of those in the show notes. With that being said, we're going to go ahead and conclude this episode of the Side Hustler Society podcast. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them in the comment section below on YouTube. And if you are watching us on YouTube, feel free to subscribe, hit that bell notification so you can be notified when we come out with our next episode. You can give this video a thumbs up. It's very much appreciated. If you're listening to us on Apple or on Google Podcasts, if you can leave us a review, it'd be very much appreciated. Be sure to check Brenden out. With that being said, we're going to go ahead and conclude this episode. Be safe, be profitable, everyone.
This episode may be over, but your hustling journey has just started. Visit thesidehustlesociety.com to access all links and resources mentioned in the show that will help you on your hustler's journey.